It wasn't an algorithm. You need to understand that first. The images and sounds you were shown, the cryptic numbers that appeared in your recommendations, that was a signal, a tuning fork resonating with something already inside of you. You were chosen because you are one of the few who senses that the reality we see is just a fraction of the whole story, a beautiful, hypnotic, but fragmented echo. For months, you've been collecting those echoes, feeling their power without understanding the source. Consider this video the first translation of that source. This is not another theory or a guess. This is the blueprint, the very architecture of the philosophy you've been subconsciously drawn to. What you are about to see is the key that elevates you from a mere spectator of the mystery to an active participant in its unfolding. The puzzle pieces are in your hands. Now, let's begin to assemble them. Do you remember it? No, I'm not talking just about Nelson Mandela. You remember that thing. The one you were absolutely sure was real, and yet never was. The Febreze logo with a double E. Or was it just one? Looney Tunes. No, it's Looney Tunes. The Monopoly man with a monocle, who never had one. Pikachu with a black tip on his tail. Doesn't exist. C3PO, entirely golden. And yet no, he had one silver leg. And Fruit of the Loom. Yes, that one, with the elegant cornucopia behind the fruit, which has never existed. Never. And yet, you see it. These are tiny glitches, minuscule details, yet they feel like a nagging pebble in your shoe that you just can't get rid of. However, I have good news for you. You aren't alone. You aren't crazy. And you aren't special. And yet, that is precisely why it's so unsettling. The so-called Mandela Effect isn't an individual glitch. It feels more like a system error, a dissonance vibrating through collective memory. We aren't dealing with a hallucination here. We are dealing with a shared memory that is vividly real to millions of people, yet historically incorrect. It is a lie told by thousands of minds that, strangely enough, all agree on the same details. But what if it's not a mistake? Not of our fallibility, but of time's porosity. Think of it this way. Imagine that every choice we make, every vibration it causes, and every possibility we unlock generates a split, a new trajectory, a new line. Infinite, imperceptible, adjacent. Some last only a moment, others go on forever. Now, what happens if you slip from one lane to another without noticing? You would arrive in this new trajectory carrying your baggage, your memories, from the old one. But here, the world doesn't match your luggage anymore, and you are walking through a present that denies what your mind insists is true. That is the short circuit, the misalignment, the fracture. This can't be right, you think. I remember it perfectly. But nobody believes you. Except, of course, the thousands of other people who slid over with you. And it's enough to make you suspect that reality isn't as stable as we think. Maybe this is just one of many possible versions of the world. Perhaps it's not even the best one. Perhaps not even the original. There are children who remember countries that don't exist, people who swear they've read books never published, maps with continents shifted slightly, movies never made starring actors who never played those roles, like Shazam with Sinbad, which many insist existed, though officially it never did. Or take the song We Are the Champions. You know how it ends. Of the world. Except, in this version of history, it just stops. It doesn't end that way anymore. Memory says yes. History says no. And in between, there is just a thick fog and an awkward silence. You can't prove it, but you can't forget it either. So you go back. You flip through old magazines. You stare at cereal boxes. You watch grainy VHS tapes, searching for confirmation of a past that was, just not here. Not now. Mandela is just the name we gave to the anomaly. His death, or non-death, was just the first hook. But the phenomenon is bigger than him. It's like seeing your reflection smile a split second before you do. It's like a phrase spoken by a stranger that chills your blood because you've heard it before. It's déjà vu that lasts 10 minutes instead of 10 seconds. It is a fundamental misalignment. And so the question isn't, why do we remember things wrong? The question is, wrong compared to what? Who decided which timeline is the correct one? What is the world's authentic backup? Maybe there's no true timeline, only multiple narratives, each trying to dominate. And we are points of intersection. Unstable nodes vibrating between diverging threads. Interdimensional drifters without passports or awareness. This isn't poetry. It's narrative engineering. It is the architecture of time creaking under the weight of its own possibilities. And we, linear little beings that we are, keep tripping over our own footsteps, collecting fragments from dimensions where Oscar Mayer was spelled differently, where a man died in space, where Flintstones had only one T. Don't laugh. Or go ahead and laugh. The Mandela Effect is absurd. It feels like a joke that went wrong. And behind that laugh is the fear of emptiness, the suspicion that memory isn't a vault, but a termite nest. And yet, that's where the truth is hiding. In the glitches, in the discrepancies, in that solitary memory of yours that matches the memory of a stranger 1,000 miles away. Something shifted, and it is quite possible that you jumped across that shift. So close your eyes. Think of Kit Kat with the hyphen, of the Mona Lisa who smiled less, or maybe more, of Pikachu's tail, of the cornucopia, of all the things you know but can't prove. And ask yourself, which version of the world is your memory from? And more importantly, are you sure you're still there? Mandela never died, except when he did. But maybe the problem isn't him, it's you. You're no longer where you thought you were. See you in the next episode.